Hey, good morning, y'all. Definitely looking at a severe weather day today in parts of the South and into the Ohio Valley. Definitely, Josh's severe weather's been busy tracking this storm. Also, a big winter storm impacting parts of the plains and up into the Great Lakes and into New England here the next couple of days as well. I hear there's going to be a lot of storm chasers out there in Alabama today. I've been watching Twitter. And I really hope that they're safe out there, and also that they obey traffic laws. They don't want to get arrested by the Alabama State Highway Patrol and get locked up into a small county jail because all it has is a supercell. But ching. All right, on to the weather. I'm not going to be a comedian, don't worry. Let's share my screen and show you all what we're looking at for the day today. And there is going to be the risk to see some tornadoes across much of the mid and deep south, especially as we get into this afternoon. We do have some tornadic activity off and on across parts of the mid south this morning, even well before daybreak. But as we get into the afternoon, we have more daytime heating and some strengthening of the jet. We are likely going to see multiple tornado watches and the potential for a couple of stronger tornadoes potentially in parts of east central Mississippi up into west central Alabama, maybe even targeting the Birmingham area and Hoover as well. And then still a chance for tornadoes all the way up into middle Tennessee and into south central Kentucky. And the possibility into early this evening, those could expand close to the Ohio River. So we're going to be watching for that. And there could be some stronger storms up in here as well. But I think the trend has been a little bit lower up across Ohio, West Virginia, and eastern Kentucky, and a little bit higher back across Tennessee and northern and central parts of Alabama and Mississippi. But nonetheless, this is a quickly evolving storm system, and things will likely change again. And I'm just kind of going off of trends in the models. The models aren't always right, even this short in the term here, where we're looking at something evolving here in the next 12 to 18 hours, but certainly looking like there will be severe weather. And if you followed me on the weekend, you saw that I was predicting this possibility for a moderate tornado risk, not to really necessarily scare people, but just to give them kind of a heads up. I know there's one meteorologist in Alabama who does not like to scare people, and he posted about it. So Storm Chaser Nick weighed in, of course, with this graphic, which I think is hilarious. But in all seriousness, Mr. Span will be busy today in Alabama, and I hope everybody takes his alerts very seriously. So here we go. On the water vapor, we see a strengthening jet over the Pacific spewing northeastward, a large canopy of clouds moving across Texas, and a large disturbance moving through the Ohio River Valley. Kind of a second piece of energy is going to be coming in right behind it this afternoon in time for daytime heating. And as this storm slowly moves eastward, we're likely going to see a lot more wind this afternoon and a widespread area of convection, which will include some stronger storms, especially in the deep south, but potentially strengthening winds aloft and enough wind maybe for a squall line to move all the way up into northeastern Ohio and even into southwestern New York by this evening. The current radar right now from perryweather.com shows very active weather across the center of the country. We do have showers and storms expanding from East Texas across the middle of Arkansas, approaching Little Rock right now at this hour, 5 a.m. Central. Lots of weather across western Tennessee and heavy rain and thunderstorms over Kentucky, where we do have some flash flood warnings in effect. And all that rain is expanding north and eastward into central Illinois, central Indiana, southern Ohio, and into the Kanawha Valley here of West Virginia as well. This area of storms will move northeastward. As the day wears on, we're going to see an area here where supercell storms could pop, and any storm could be potentially strong to severe, and tornadoes will certainly be a potential threat as well as the afternoon wears on. There will probably be a few tornado warnings this morning across this region, and here we do have a tornado watch in effect. But I think the afternoon is going to see more activity, especially after about 2 o'clock Central Time. There's also a winter storm part of this, and we do have significant snow falling around Hastings and Lincoln, Nebraska. That is going to expand northeastward across Cedar Rapids, Quad Cities, into northern parts of Illinois and southern Wisconsin. This snow will make it into the Chicagoland area after lunchtime, and north of Chicago, it will be snowing throughout most of the morning. Milwaukee has a significant chance for seeing accumulation, which may pile up at over 1 inch per hour this afternoon. So it's definitely going to be a nasty day of travel here across the Great Lakes and the upper Midwest. As this snow continues to spin. And there will be a marginal region in here of some sleet and cold freezing rain before that change over to snow later this afternoon. So something to watch out for around Chicago and especially back towards the north and west of Peoria. and towards Burlington and Galesburg, the potential for some light to moderate sleet to accumulate. Same goes for north central parts of Missouri, north of Columbia to about La Plata and into Quincy and Hannibal. We could see a little bit of sleet as well here this morning before a change to some snow, mainly north of Quincy. So that is the current radar. It will change quite a bit by the time many of you watch this video. A tornado watch is in effect until noon central for much of central and eastern Arkansas, northwest Mississippi, western Tennessee and Kentucky, far downstate Illinois, and the boot heel of Missouri as well, with a moderate chance of tornadoes, but a lower chance for strong tornadoes. Nonetheless, a tornado is a tornado, and we need to take it seriously. From the Storm Prediction Center, I don't know if they have an updated forecast. Nope, not quite yet. We do have a large area of enhanced risk for severe weather, including 12 million people, with Nashville, Tennessee being right in the middle of that, but it goes all the way down to the Louisiana-Mississippi border and all the way up into southern Ohio, including the Cincinnati region. And involved in that will be a large area of potentially strong winds, but also at least a 2% chance of tornadoes and a higher chance for tornadoes over eastern Mississippi, western Alabama, and far southern middle Tennessee. A 10% chance of significant severe storms, which meaning there will be a 10% chance of an EF2 tornado or greater. Those are the kind of tornadoes that cause structural damage and can lead to deadly conditions if people do not take them seriously. And this area in here seems to be the heart of Tornado Alley these days. There are a lot of modular homes, so people need to get the heck out of those homes if they're under a tornado warning and go find themselves a safe place to be. I really want you all to be safe, as 4 million people will be under the gun for the threat for stronger tornadoes. The NATOcast, this is just a model that shows kind of short-term trends in the model, shows that the greatest chance for significant severe is going to be around Meridian and Demopolis, Alabama, down to the south and west into the areas that always seem to get tornadoes, east central Mississippi and interior southwest Alabama. But that does not mean you will not potentially have tornadoes in the Nashville area or the Birmingham or the Huntsville area this afternoon, or even down close to Tangipahoa, again, Louisiana. They got hit last week. So maybe even all the way down here into east central Louisiana, north of I-12. So that's the area we're watching. By the time things get into Chattanooga and Atlanta this evening, the threat for tornadoes does weaken quickly as we lose a lot of the ingredients that would be there for tornadoes. Tomorrow, we're likely going to see a quieter day, but a lot of rain and storms in the southeast, so something to keep in mind there. The reason for the increased enhancement of tornadoes, I'm making up new words, folks, I swear, is if you look on the HRRR model, you see this strong jet streak moving across Tennessee and Kentucky this morning, and this is about 7 a.m. Central Time. That moves up into the Ohio Valley, but as we get to about lunchtime and 1 in the afternoon, we see kind of some enhancement of wind down in Mississippi and Alabama. Not going to be as strong aloft at 850 millibars, that's about 5,000 feet up, but that strengthening of wind, 50, 60 knots, will certainly provide enough momentum for storms to get going. And these winds at 850 are out of the southwest, but surface winds are going to be more southerly or even south-southeasterly. And with that turning in the lowest 5,000 feet of the atmosphere, you've got the ability for any storm to form to rotate. And that's why we're concerned about tornadoes. By this evening, there are still some strong winds aloft, but we're losing daytime heating. So we're not going to see as organized a threat for supercells as we get to about 8 or 9 o'clock tonight Eastern time, but there'll still be a chance for some stronger wind all the way up into western New York. So a very dynamic storm system becoming positively tilted here. And on the cold side, you have strong northerly flow aloft that will feed the cold air into the backside of the storm and produce those heavier snowfall rates. Here is a look at the HRRR model. Actually, I want to get you all the 10Z here. Yep, it's making it through. That's 6 a.m. Eastern. And you can see this big area of storms right now in Arkansas, western Tennessee, and Kentucky moving northeastward. Some severe threat with this, but also a flash flood threat. Now, as we get into the lunchtime hours in here, we see some discrete supercell storms trying to get going in southern Mississippi and maybe far eastern Louisiana. As the afternoon wears on, we see this area picking up quite a bit in range. So we are likely going to see multiple cells in this area, a tornado watch, and a moderate risk of tornadoes. I know the Storm Prediction Center has enhanced risk. Honestly, the difference between enhanced and moderate is not that much. It is a big enough of a risk that you just don't want to roll the dice on it. I think there will be some stronger tornadoes in here, EF2, maybe EF3 tornadoes. And this is a very very much a loaded gun look for some significant severe weather over parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and maybe even Middle Tennessee through the afternoon hours. This is 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock, even Southern Kentucky. We're going to have to keep an eye on things, Eastern Kentucky. As we get towards the evening, though, the main threat for severe weather is probably going to be in here, and then we just see some heavier rain and storms expanding all the way up into Pennsylvania. I'm not really sold necessarily on severe weather in Ohio and Pennsylvania. Things looked a little bit different yesterday, but nonetheless, there could be some stronger wind gusts in here and certainly a lot of rain, so flooding could be a concern as well. Let's zoom in on the HRRR and show y'all what the, oh my goodness, what's going on here? All right, sorry, I just need to reload things. I start my videos and things update as I'm going. So just we're doing it on the fly here, but this is this morning around 8 a.m. Central, 9, 10, and 11 a.m. And we start to see some things picking up in southern Mississippi around 11 a.m., noon, and 1 o'clock. And this area is certainly of concern, moving towards away from Laurel and Hattiesburg into western Alabama. But then we're also going to be watching Tennessee and especially this area in Mississippi here. As we get to about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, this definitely does not look good. 4 o'clock, here's 5 o'clock, Tuscaloosa under the gun, Birmingham under the gun. 6 o'clock, things are definitely going to be kind of peaking in that dinner time frame here in Alabama. And then things still potentially show an isolated severe threat in here, but now we're dealing with more heavier storms. So this can change. This is just one run of the models, but you all can see how things quickly ramp up here this afternoon, and mid to late afternoon is going to be very busy with definitely a threat for tornadoes. And then as we get later into tonight, we're just dealing with some more rain and thunderstorms. Here is the tornado parameter that accounts for lower level shear and what could create tornadoes. And you see it's not super high this morning, but as we get into about lunchtime and early afternoon, numbers are starting to pick up in Mississippi. This is at 1 o'clock Central Time, 2 and 3 o'clock, and things are ramping up in western Alabama, eastern Mississippi, and into middle Tennessee, west in Nashville as well. This particular run says watch out in Nashville right around 4 o'clock Central into 5 o'clock. Definitely a higher parameter than we've seen, but Alabama and Mississippi, in my opinion, are going to be warmer and more humid, and we'll have a greater chance of seeing some stronger tornadoes up until about 7, 8 o'clock, and then things should start quieting down as we get towards the end of the what I call prime time. Storm relative humidity here on the HRRR, and this is from pivotalweather.com, another great site. I love WeatherBell, but Pivotal can give you a lot of information as well for a cheaper price. And you can see the storm relative humidity in the lowest kilometer of the atmosphere is quite high over middle Tennessee and into parts of Alabama and Mississippi. So even Tennessee, if the HRRR is right, things get really ramping up here late this afternoon near and south of Nashville and Franklin. So we're definitely going to watch that area, but I would tend to think with climatology the way it is, Alabama is probably going to be ground zero for tornadoes. And you can take a look. This is the Demopolis, Alabama sounding, and the HRRR shows that there will be likely enough shear. You have a southerly wind at the surface, southwest aloft, west-southwest even farther up. Pretty good wind shear for a tornadic storm to get ramping up and certainly feed into that wind shear. So definitely a possibility of tornadoes. Look at Huntsville as well, HSV, I believe. And same thing when you get up to Huntsville, actually some stronger winds at the surface, 15 knots or higher. So a windy afternoon. The HRRR says we are definitely a go for a threat for tornadoes in Huntsville. The HWRF says the same thing. And the National Severe Storms Lab says it's a marginal risk for tornadoes. So there's still some model disagreement, but they all agree there will be a chance for tornadoes. Farther north and east, here's our area of storms in Kentucky. I am concerned about flash flooding this morning. Kentucky is prone to flooding in general, but as we get through the afternoon, things should lift north and east up in Ohio. And now we're watching what's going on in Tennessee and south central Kentucky around 5 o'clock. Into 6 and 7. I don't think we're looking at widespread tornadoes in far eastern Kentucky, but I'm definitely concerned that there could be strong wind and there could be quite a bit of rain falling as well right on through this evening if this is correct. And you can see this is the significant tornado parameter, not super high yet, but now picking up around 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 Central in middle Tennessee, and then trying to get up into Kentucky, but really this is Tennessee and Alabama storm later this afternoon. And then this evening, we'll watch for stronger winds, but I don't think we're looking at a widespread tornado threat. And you can see the storm relative humidity or helicity that's turning in the atmosphere. While it's getting kind of high in Ohio here, there isn't going to be the instability to produce widespread supercells. So the chance for tornadoes is low, but it's not zero with this kind of helicity. Finally, we'll look at the NAM composite here so you can see the wintry part of this storm, and you can see the snow moves into Chicago's western suburbs here right around 5 o'clock. And this evening in Chicago is probably going to be quite snowy. I think Wisconsin's looking at an all-day snow, same for northern lower Michigan. Into tonight, we see that snow spreading up north of the St. Lawrence and into northern Maine by tomorrow morning. There will be a wintry mix near Buffalo and on northward right along the U.S.-Canadian border into parts of interior New England very early tomorrow morning. Heavy rain moves through Pennsylvania, New York State into New England tomorrow morning, and also across Virginia and the Carolinas by midday and into the afternoon. Quite a bit of rain could fall in Virginia and into central North Carolina, lower amounts down into Florida where things are going to be kind of falling apart. And here's your rain totals from the NAM model. You can see this is the area I'm most concerned with for flooding. That includes northwest Tennessee around Paris and Per Year, and right on up to the south of Lexington and right into the Kanawha Valley, including places like Hurricane and the Canaan Valley could see 1 to 2 inches and some flash flooding just south of Huntington, maybe getting over into Putnam County, West Virginia as well. There will be a flash flood threat. And there could be some heavier amounts of rain in Alabama and southern middle Tennessee, even eastern Tennessee, towards La Follette and over towards Knoxville as well. Finally, we'll look at snow. This is the National Weather Service forecast for the Midwest. And we see amounts are a little bit lower in Omaha and on north, but south central Iowa, northwestern tip of Missouri, 4 to 8 inches of snow expected, as well as the southeast corner of Nebraska. Also an area of enhancement around Milwaukee, Brown Deer, Wauwatosa, could see around 10 inches of snow. Getting down to Racine, it's more like 8 inches. Chicago, things will vary quickly, maybe only an inch in southern Cook County, but when you get up towards Lake County, we're looking at a 3 to 6 inch zone. And if you go up to like Woodstock, we're looking at 6 or 7 inches, and all the way to Janesville, about 8 inches. And across central parts of lower Michigan, 6 to 7 inches of snow as well expected. And on the cold side of the storm, we could see flakes falling across Ohio, western PA, West Virginia, even into the Virginia mountains. Most of us are going to see less than an inch, but a few spots could pick up a little more tomorrow behind our storm. And quite a temperature shift coming here in 24 hours. We see things dropping off quickly tonight in Arkansas, Louisiana, and eastern Tennessee. Here's our front, and this is daybreak tomorrow morning, and it's a very mild morning up into New York State, but much colder back in Tennessee and Mississippi. So warming up 10 to 20 degrees ahead of our front in just a day, but dropping 30 to 40 behind the front during the day tomorrow, and a much colder afternoon in areas that are getting severe weather today. As you're cleaning up from storms tomorrow afternoon, we're 30 degrees colder, and tomorrow night that chill starts getting felt all the way into the northeast. We're looking at temperatures today which could get to record highs across north central Florida. We'll be pushing close to 80 in Fayetteville and Raleigh, and into the 60s with record highs expected on Long Island, away from the southerly flow, as well as southern New England, mid 60s in Philly, mid to upper 60s again in Baltimore and DC, and how about 77 in Norfolk and Virginia Beach? Quite a temperature shock for us here in the middle of February. Tonight we'll have record low minimums across much of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast, and tomorrow's highs still could get to record levels in Massachusetts. It'll still be warm on the eastern Carolina coastline, and record highs in Florida may get very close to 90 degrees, interior central Florida. But much colder as we get to tomorrow night, and we're starting the day off on Saturday near zero in northern Maine. So quite a temperature drop coming. Teens and 20s in New England, 20s and 30s in the Northeast, 30s and 40s in the Southeast, even freezing temperatures all the way down to about Baton Rouge and Covington, Louisiana. And Saturday, a chilly day here in the Northeast, but temperatures start warming up on the Gulf Coast. This will be what it should be this time of the year. So a drier, quieter day as we start to the weekend. Wow, that's a lot to talk about today, but I thank you all for your time. I really appreciate you liking this video and subscribing to my channel, as I'm going to do my best to give you all the best. I'll try to inject some humor, but I also want to share just how important I feel that this weather is going to be over the next day. Definitely take things seriously. And I thank you for your time. I want to give all the glory to God. And as a Christian man, I just want to leave you with a quick verse. Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I thank Christ for giving me the strength to do this forecast every morning. Getting up at 4:30, 5 a.m. is not easy, but knowing that people out there are going to get the best weather I can give them means a lot to me. And it's all because of Jesus Christ and the sacrifice made for me. If you have any prayer requests, I would love to pray for you. I thank you for your time. I hope you're safe and God bless you. See you tomorrow.